Hello, welcome again. My name is Zizi Shili, and I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm currently the manager of global programs at the Brown School at Washington University in St. Louis. And I'm also the host of today's section. They will be covering the tips for incoming international students. And I'm very excited to have you joining our info section. So before we officially get started, here are a few housekeeping notes. First of all, today's section is being recorded and we are using Zoom webinar mode. And during the section, the closed captions are enabled, so you can activate the subtitle at any time. As I mentioned earlier, we are using the Zoom webinar, so we cannot see or hear the audience. And also we cannot call on the raised hands, but we do invite you to use the Q&A feature, not the chat feature, to submit the questions during today's conversation. Some questions will be answered within the Q&A window by our staff, and some will be selected to be answered live by our panel at the end. If we don't have a chance to answer your questions, please reach out to us via email, brownadmissions@worcester.edu. I'm gonna, next slide. So you can see our email address on the slides. And today's topic is the tips for incoming international student. And we do ask every one of you, please keep the question on topic. We know many people have specific questions about their own situations, and it's very unique. So if that is you, please reach out to us again via email brownadmissions@worcester.edu with your questions and specific situation. For those who are still waiting for their admission and scholarship decisions, if we receive your complete application after December 1st, you will receive your decision 6 to 10 weeks after we receive your final application materials. For all personal questions, please again email us directly at brownadmissions@worcester.edu. We have a lot to discuss today. To prepare for today, we did ask our panelists what would have been most helpful for them when they were in your shoes. Within their advice, we are going to cover 3 main topics today. And then as you can see on the slide, with time pending at the end, we will also answer the questions live, especially the pre-submit questions throughout the sections. So thank you everyone who already submitted their question in ahead of time. So now one of my favorite part is to introduce our dear panelists. Today we are very happily joined by our colleagues from the Office for International Students and Scholars, Brown School Admissions and Recruitment Office, and Global Programs Office. Panelists, if you would, please introduce yourself, your name, and also your main role, and also how your office support the international students in general. And first of all, I will have our Ariel from OISS office to introduce herself. Welcome, Ariel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ariel Carpenter. I'm excited to be here today. I am the Associate Director for the Office for International Students and Scholars, and I will be here to answer questions, but also go over the process on how to receive your I-20 and a few tips on applying for your visa. Thank you for joining today, and thank you, Zizi, for inviting me.
Thanks, Ariel. Next, we will have our specialist at admissions office, Martina Parker. Tina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Martina Parker. I am the admissions coordinator in the Admissions and Recruitment Office. And today I will be going over briefly the documentation that I need to submit your request to our OISS office for your I-20, and a little bit about transcripts. Thank you, Cece.
Thanks, Tina. Last but not least, let's welcome Tammy Orford from GPO to introduce herself. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you. My name is Tammy Orahood. I am the Director of Global Programs at the Brown School. So GPO works with international students and with students in our international concentrations and with faculty who do global research and lots of things. One of the things we will be doing for international students is the GPO office coordinates the International Student Orientation, which is the first part of orientation in August for our international students. So welcome. Very glad to see everybody here today.
Thanks to all our panelists, and I know that we will have them in just a few minutes to talk more about specific questions that you're interested in learning. And I know that we have a lot of topics to cover, so let's just get started to our official agenda. First of all, cost of attendance. So I would like to share the information about the cost of attendance at the Brown School for 2024 to 2025. And funding your degrees is always something many of you are really caring about. So I would like to just share the information with you. The cost of attendance is an estimated value that will account for major costs associated with starting at a Brown School, and it's meant to guide students in making informed financial decisions regarding their enrollment. The cost of attendance value is set by the Brown School and including mandatory fee such as tuition and fees, along with the estimated cost of things like books, supplies, your transportation, professional costs, living, etc. And here are just some numbers for Master of Social Work, Public Health, and Social Policy. Please note that the international students will have separate funding requirements, and we will talk more about the specific numbers in just a few minutes from our colleague at the OISS slides. I know many of you have questions about, the minimum amount for your funding support, or, what should be the good number for my financial supporting documents. We will talk about that in just a few minutes. And this number we show on the slide are different from what you actually need to prepare for the initial I-20 processing process. So when you decided to enroll in our program, please confirm the intent to enroll and secure your spot in for cohort on the admission portal. If you accept your offer, a credit or debit card is required to pay the non-refundable $200 in advance. So this $200 is advance deposit and cannot be waived. But it will be applied to your tuition and fees for the full 2024 term. Please know that please only accept your admissions and also submit your non-refundable enrollment deposit once you are prepared to submit the required financial documentation to initiate the visa process. So now I'm gonna pass it on to our colleague Tina to talk more about the next step after the confirming the intended to enroll. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you, Zizi. Hi again, everybody. My name is Tina Parker, admissions coordinator. Official final transcripts, before I get to the part that Zizi was just speaking about with confirming your intent to enroll, I want to quickly go over final official transcripts and the requirement that we have for that. For our incoming students, we ask that everyone provide a final official transcript from the institution of which they have attended for their undergraduate degree. And on that final official transcript, we're asking for a conferral date on it. So it will show the degrees that you've earned along with the date that you've earned that degree, and the coursework that you've completed to fulfill your degree requirements. And we would like for that to come from the official institution with the seal or the stamp embossed marking on it as well. For our applicants who have submitted transcripts through SOFAs, generally, we do receive the final official from them because it typically comes as a WES evaluation. However, if your graduation date isn't until 2024, you may still need to submit a final transcript, or I'm sorry, evaluation from WES or any of the companies that we use that are listed on our website. And then final official transcripts must be received by July 31st, directly to the Brown School. Again, we ask that they are issued by your institution for which you've received your undergraduate degree, or an authorized agent like WES. And then we only accept transcripts electronically or as a hard copy. So sometimes for the WES evaluations, if they aren't sent through SOFAs directly, then they can be mailed to our office for us to receive them through our office. And also, I know that some have used in the past, have used Parchment or National Clearinghouse if their transcripts are coming from an institution in the US. Can you go to the next slide, Zizi? Thank you. To further explain more about what ZZ said after you confirm your intent to enroll. So after you've made that $200 tuition deposit, these are the next steps that you will take. We ask for a number of documents, maybe about 5 to 6 documents. It just kind of depends on the applicant themselves. We do for one of the major documents that we ask for is our student status form. Every student has to complete this. This form helps us to know what type of visa you are applying for. It also helps us to know if you have dependents that will be joining you during your time here at Washington University and at the Brown School. And then we also ask that you complete the Affidavit of Financial Support. This document lists there's several opportunities on this document to list the sponsors that you will have. So if you have more than just your personal funds, or you have your parents and your personal funds that are supporting you, you are able to list this on that document. And then you could also list an employer if you have an employer that is supporting you, family, friends, other family members, or another organization. Thank you, Zizi. Once the Brown School receives all required documents, which is listed on our website, but also it's the status form, it's the passport, it's the Affidavit of Financial Support that we look for. And then we also look for a bank statement that is not older than 6 months. Meaning that if you count back 6 months from today, your passport cannot be older than October of 2023. We would like a newer bank statement. However, we cannot take anything past 6 months old. When we process your I-20, we're asking that you allow us up to 4 weeks from the time that you send your documents to us. Typically in our with our OISS office, it's taking maybe 10 business days to process your I-20, which is really good. However, there are sometimes that we run into issues where there's more clarification needed for your documentation. So that's why we are asking you all to allow us 4 weeks. But generally, you can get your I-20 in 10 business days of sending your documentation to our Brown Admissions email. We encourage you all to submit your documents as soon as possible to allow us time to initiate the visa process. Before your I-20 is issued, we ask that you contact Brown Admissions at worcester.edu. If you haven't received any updates after submitting your completed documents for more than 4 weeks, if you have any issues with your documentation, or if you're having any issues with your I-20 itself, we ask that you contact Brown Admissions so that we can try to fix the situation or make sure that everything that we've submitted is correct for our OISS office. However, there are some things that you'll be able to submit through the My OISS portal. After you've received your after you've received your I-20, you will receive a email from OISS that states that it's ready. And this email will give you access to the My OISS portal. This portal will allow you to add a dependent if I didn't do it for you, in your CVIS profile correction if anything is incorrect on there. However, for any other request, that is something that would need to go through me. So you would email Brown Admissions at worcester.edu.
All right, thank you, Tina. So I'm gonna go a bit more in depth into the documents that are needed to issue an I-20. So as Tina mentioned, as an admitted student, after you submit your deposit, you will work directly with Tina to submit each of these documents, as well as the 2 documents that Tina mentioned earlier. You will submit that to her. I will share that the earlier that you submit these documents to Tina, the earlier my team doing your I-20. So the first document we'll talk about is the new International Graduate Student Status Form. This was discussed by Tina a few slides earlier. It is an online form that is required for all international students, regardless of whether you are applying for an F1 visa, a J1 visa, or maybe you're enrolling at WashU in a different visa type. This form is required for all international students. In particular, for students who are already here in the US or have already received an F1 visa and have an active CVIS record, there are instructions on how to transfer your record from your current institution to WashU. So this form is very important for all international students, but specifically students who have an active F1 status or an active J1 status. If you need to transfer your record from a current institution where you're earning your degree, or maybe you're on OPT or STEM OPT, you will use this form to find the instructions on how to transfer your record. The second document that we'll need is a copy of your passport. As Tina mentioned, it should not be more than 6 months old, or 6 months to the expiration date. The passport bio page will be the page that has your picture on it. It has the information on what country issued your passport. It will have your place of birth, your country of citizenship, your country of birth, your birth date. So we need a copy of that. In addition, we have what's called an Affidavit of Financial Support. So on one of the first slides, Zizi had mentioned the cost of attendance. The reason why the cost of attendance is so important is that when you are applying for an F1 visa, the US government is asking that you provide proof that you can afford to live in the US as well as study in the US for up to 1 year. So it is required by the US government that you provide that information upfront at your visa appointment. So in order to receive an I-20, we have to see that proof. So part of the documents that we will request is this Affidavit of Financial Support. So if you are receiving any funding to help support you during your first year from an individual, a company, an organization, you will need to complete this Affidavit of Financial Support. If you are receiving full funding, though, by the university, well, remind me again, Tina, are we requiring it? I don't think we're requiring it for students who are receiving full funding.
No, we don't.
That's okay. I just want to make sure. So if you are receiving full funding, meaning the university is covering your entire tuition and providing a stipend for cost of living expenses, then you do not have to complete this form. But if you are self-funded, if you are funded by a family member, a friend, an organization of any kind, you will need to fill this form out, and we will need to have their signature on this form. The Affidavit of Financial Support is basically stating that this person understands that they are helping to fund your education and your residence here in the US during your first year. In addition to the Affidavit of Financial Support, you have to show proof of funding. So examples of proof of funding will be for those who are funded by the university, either partially or fully. This will be your award letter, which Tina will provide to OISS, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you are funded by self-funded, or you are funded by any other entity, a person, a family member, if you are taking out a loan, we will need to see proof, official proof of that. So typically what that means is it's a bank statement, an official letter from your financial institution. If you are taking out a loan, we need to see the official approval of the loan, as well as how much you have been approved for. Let me see, what other forms can we accept? Are there any other forms that we typically, besides bank statements? I think bank statements are typically the one, bank statements and loan confirmations. So you will submit that, and as Tina mentioned, those documents must be issued within the last 6 months. So if they are more than a year old, unfortunately, we cannot accept that. It has to be within the last 6 months. So questions, feel free to add that to the Q&A, and I'll do my best to respond to those. So as Zizi mentioned, and this is just a recap, so the requirements for each of the degree programs, this is the amount that you will need to show proof of to receive an I-20, but also when you apply for a visa at the U.S. Embassy. So each of the schools have a different amount, but this includes the cost of tuition, additional tuition fees or university fees, as well as cost of living. And this is an estimated cost. So you may find that when you are here in the US that you will pay less or you will pay more. But on average, international students are paying this amount in a full year or more. So it is very important that that you ensure that you have this amount of funding available for you during your first year and on until you graduate. For any students who are interested in bringing family members, you are eligible to apply for an F2 dependent visa, but only for spouses or children under the age of 21. So if you are interested in bringing a family member to the US and applying for an F2 visa, then you will need to include an additional $4,160 US dollars along with the cost that is above. So I mentioned this already, but acceptable sources of funding are personal funds. You can be sponsored by a family member, a friend, an employer. If you are sponsored by an agency, that is also a great way to receive funding. We do accept private loans, grants or scholarships, and then again, institutional funding. The most important part is that you do need to provide confirmation and proof of this. So for the first personal funds and the sponsor funds, typically that is seen through bank statements. If you are employed, or excuse me, if you are sponsored by an employer, the government or organization, typically they will provide you with an official statement stating how much they are sponsoring you for and the period in which they are sponsoring you. If it is a private loan, then we need the confirmation that you have been approved for the loan, but specifically the amount that you have been approved for and the period. Same thing for grants and awards or scholarships that are not affiliated or associated or provided through the institution WashU. So once you have provided all of these documents to Tina, and that's the Browns at WashU or woostel.edu, Tina and her team will be reviewing all of the documents and working with you to ensure that we have a completed packet. We cannot issue an I-20 if there are documents that are missing. We will not issue an I-20 if there are documents that are missing. So please ensure that you are providing Tina with all of the information up front. She will not be able to get us to expedite that process. So I want to be very clear about this. But once all of the documents have been submitted, as Tina mentioned, my team is working and will do our best to provide you with an I-20 within 7 to 10 business days. So that's about 2 business weeks, as long as we have a completed packet. So once we have generated the I-20, you will receive this email, likely from a person named Bill Elliott. He's on the OISS team, or Martha Turner. So it could be a number of people, but the subject line will say, "Welcome to my OISS, the International Student Portal." And in that email will be information on how to access your I-20, but also how to access my OISS, which Tina and Zizi had mentioned. So I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes or right now to give you an idea of what the portal will look like when you join. So when you receive access, when you receive this email, it will have login information for you that states how to access my OISS. When you log in, the first thing that you will see is your student information at the top. So this is a test example. Forgetting my words. But on the very top, you will see your name, you will see the visa status that you've been approved for, or at least through the institution. You will have your student ID number. You'll also see your SEVIS ID number. This is really important because you will need that number to apply for your visa interview. So that number will be right here at the very top. You'll also see the education level. So for many of you, it will be master's students. Some it may be doctoral students. You'll see the campus site. This information or this number is also going to be requested for your visa interview. You will see your program dates for the I-20. Your I-20 is going to be based on your the start of classes till your anticipated end of the program. So for most of the master students, that will be a 2-year program. Doctoral students, typically 6 years. And then your SEVIS status will be an initial status. It will remain an initial status until you have been entered into the US and we have registered your SEVIS record. We typically do not register records until 2 weeks after classes have started. But the first page is our welcome page. Congratulations on your admissions to WashU. But the most important section as a person who is first looking into our system is going to be navigating my OISS. Please do not skip over this paragraph in your excitement to find your I-20. Many students will email Tina and I to ask, where is our I-20? And if you just read the first paragraph, you will know where to find your I-20. But the Navigating My OISS paragraph will give you instructions on what you can find in each tab, under visa information, under SEVIS profile, under planning your arrival, as well as requests and documents. So very quickly, under visa information, you will find information on how to apply for a visa. It will give you other information on required documents, the website, how to find out what your wait time is to apply for an interview. Under the SEVIS profile, this is a replication of your SEVIS record. So you now have access to see what we have provided to the US government. If there are any changes or any corrections that you've noticed, we have a request that is available so that you can submit it directly to the OISS team. Under planning your arrival, it gives you very general information about housing opportunities in St. Louis, orientation, health, immunizations, everything in terms of planning your arrival here. But then most importantly is going to be the requests and documents tab. So under requests and documents, it's exactly what it means. You can submit requests here. So Tina had mentioned that after your I-20 is submitted, if there's any changes that you need to make to your I-20, the request section is where you can do that. You can request to add a dependent, or if there's any changes that you've noted from the SEVIS profile tab, you can do that here. But then also under the document section, this is where you will be able to download a copy of your I-20 or DS-2019 if you are joining as a J1 student. So I'm going to stop sharing so Zizi can, so we can get back to the presentation. So one of the last parts of my section is applying for a US visa. So very briefly, I will share that we have a webinar coming up next week where we'll be able to go into a bit more in depth about the US visa process. But if you have not received an F1 visa and you are applying for the first time, you have to go and schedule a visa interview at your local US embassy or consulate. I highly recommend those who are Indian nationals or those who are in Ghana and Nigeria and Uganda to try to get your documents in as soon as possible. The wait times in those countries are already more than, it's very long, so you will have to apply for an expedited appointment. So I encourage you know that WashU is the school you want to attend. Start your process now so that we can get your I-20 as soon as possible. But in general, the process to apply for a US visa, you will need your I-20 because you will need the SEVIS record number and you will need the campus site to apply. There is a website through the Department of State that goes through the entire visa process, what documents you will need, and how to schedule an appointment. Every embassy and consulate office is a bit different. So it is very important that you are going to the Department of State website first so that you can learn of all of the required documents, how to submit what's called the DS-160 form. It's the application for a visa. And then go to your embassy website because there you will learn how to, if you need to schedule an expedited appointment, if you are eligible for an interview, or if there are additional documents that you will need to submit as a citizen or national from a particular country. But in general, the requirements for all international students who are applying for a US visa is the DS-160. You will have to pay a fee for the application. And then for F1 students, you are also required to pay an additional fee for what we call the SEVIS I-901 fee. It's the last sentence at the bottom. And it is a fee that goes towards your SEVIS record. It is required. It is not a payment that goes to WashU at all. It goes to the US government. You will need to pay this before your visa interview. So we can go to the next slide. And then, as I had mentioned, next week we are hosting a webinar that goes into more depth of the process to receive your I-20, but also applying for a US visa and preparing for your visa interview. Our next webinar is going to be next week, March 28th at 7 a.m. Central Time. And then we will have another webinar going over the same exact information in May, also at 7 a.m. So if you are interested in joining, you should get an invitation via email, but also feel free to scan the QR code here, and I'll provide I'll provide the links as well in the chat for anyone who would like to join. But thank you so much for giving me space to talk.
Thanks, Tina, and also Ariel for such detail and walkthrough for the I-20 and also the process in general. I know that many of you pre-submit questions regarding your personal situation, how to access I-20, or your personal situation regarding applying for a visa. So we do encourage you to join the webinars on this slide so that they will provide you more specific guidance, because we only have 1 hour, cannot really cover each of your questions. Next, I know that many of you are really curious about like the transportation and housing situation in the US. And then I would like to welcome Tammy to just give you some additional resources about housing and transportation after you arrive in St. Louis.
Thank you, Ziti. So we have a couple different resources here. The first one is Quadrangle, and I would highlight that because that is WashU owned properties. So this is through Washington University. So they're all usually within walking distance of WashU, and they're well maintained and safe. So this is an example of a listing just to show you, how much it would be for 2 bedrooms, the little icons, that's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, or 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bedrooms. So I'd start there. You can also use apartment referral services, which is not university owned properties, but it is properties around the university that have been somewhat vetted by the university. And there are additional resources on the international student page, which I would refer you to, as well as the admitted student resources page. I also encourage you to join the Facebook group if you're on Facebook for the Brown School admitted students, because that's a great way for you to find roommates, or sometimes alumni will post if they have rooms available. So that's one way that students find roommates and also housing. Just to explain a little bit about St. Louis. St. Louis consists of many different municipalities. So around the university, there's something like 5 or 6 different municipalities. You'll see St. Louis City and University City and Clayton and Ladue and Richmond Heights and Maplewood are just a few. And almost all of those have their own school districts. So if you are bringing dependent children, you will not be enrolling them into just one school district for all of St. Louis. So if you have specific questions about neighborhoods or school districts, feel free to email me. I'm happy to talk about that. I'm a mom who has kids in one of the districts near the university as well. Next slide, please. And then in terms of transportation, so first I just you will get a free U-Pass is what we call it, which is you can use for all of the bus and then our metro transit system. We call it MetroLink. It's a light rail system. It's only 2 lines, so it's not as extensive as some other cities, but it does have 2 stops at the university. If you're going to have a car, you will need a permit. So I refer you to the parking website, but there's also, if you're living in like one of those quadrangle houses around campus, we have both WashU shuttles and something called the campus circulator, which are free with your WashU ID, and those go around neighborhoods close to the university as well as around campus. If you're someone who likes to bike, you can get a bike here through Bear Bikes. So that's the website for that. Car sharing is gotten really popular in the United States. So we have both Car Share Enterprise is a car rental company that's headquartered in St. Louis, but they also do car shares where you can actually rent a car. So if you want to get out and about outside St. Louis, for example, you can do that. Or if you have an appointment that might not be readily accessible with public transportation. Also, Uber and Lyft are very, very popular within the United States. Those are ride shares. And then I mentioned the parking permits. You do have to pay for those. Parking is a little limited on campus. So if you are going to have a car, that's something you'll have to think about. Next slide. And that leads us right into the questions. I know we have several that have been listed on our Q&A that we said we would answer live. So let's go ahead and get right to it.
Thanks,
Colleagues in
Tammy.
admissions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna let them go ahead and answer some of the questions.
yeah, thanks, Tammy, for the overview of the housing and transportation situation for Brown School student. We're on this topic, and I just want to briefly answer one question was submitted previously about like the on-campus housing situation. Actually, Brown School, like the WashU doesn't really provide like on-campus housing like dorms for graduate students. But we do have a lot of additional resources for you to refer to, and we are happy to help you to connect with those resources and help you to secure housing before your arrival to the St. Louis.
So
Okay.
Zizi, if I can jump in, there is one dormitory that accepts graduate students on campus. That did not used to be true. The reality though is it's really expensive. And so most students actually decide to live in off-campus housing because it's less expensive than the one dorm that's available for graduate students that is right on campus.
Well, that's really good to know that we have something new, but also, it's like fits different person's situation. So please connect with us, and then we will provide you with more detailed information so that you can make the best informed decision for your personal situation. Okay, I know that there were a lot of like pre-submit questions, and also I'm very excited to see so many questions were submitted on Q&A section. We are still accepting questions, so please keep it rolling. And now we would invite our panelists to answer some of the pre-submit select questions. So first questions, I know that some of our students receive the scholarship package, and then it's a little bit tricky to do the math. So we do have the questions about like the what number of funding I need to submit if I receive the scholarship funding from Brown School. So the question is that, so how much funding should I provide it as evidence for 120 application if my scholarship package is $6,000?
Hi, Zizi, I guess I can take that one. If your scholarship package is $6,000, you are basically dividing that $6,000 into 4 semesters. So when I submit your paperwork for your I-20 request, I'm dividing it into 2 years. That's 2 semesters a year. So that would be $3,000 for each year that you are here with us. If the total amount, I'm sorry, Zizi, can you remind me of the program? Did they list the program?
Yeah, let me pull that slide really quick. And also, Tina, you are talking about the regular, like the 2-year program for
Okay.
4 semesters, right?
Yes.
Okay, here.
So you'll see here, these are the tuition numbers that we've listed for you. So if you're in the MSW program and your scholarship amount is $6,000, if I divide that into 2 years, then that's $3,000 each year. So for the MSW program, I'll still need proof of funds in the amount of $71,235. If you're in the MSP program, the social policy program, I'll still need proof of funding in the amount of $71,235. If you're in the MPH, Master of Public Health Program, I'll still need proof of funding for your I-20 request in the amount of $65,865. So basically, with your, I apologize, excuse me. If your scholarship amount is, let's just say 6,000 as ZZ submitted, stated earlier, you're gonna divide that scholarship amount into 2 years, basically divide it down in half. And once you get to that number, that half number, then you subtract that from the amount of your program, and that's what we need proof of funding for. If you have dependents, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this as well. If you have dependents, you need to add on the additional amount for dependents, which is $4,160 US dollars. And so if you are in the Master of Public Health program and you have one dependent coming with you, and your scholarship amount is $6,000, you're going to subtract 3,000 from the total amount of what's that, 72. So your tuition amount will be 69,000. No, I'm sorry, 70,225, I believe.
Thanks, Tina, for the answer. And I know that each individual's scholarship package may look different. So if you have like specific question about your own situation, again, please reach out to Brown Admissions email, and then we will give you, we'll help you to provide the number that you need to provide for the supported funding.
Yes.
Since we touched base a little bit about the dependence for for adding a dependent, we do have a questions about like adding a dependent. So if what does the visa process look like if I want to add my spouse or child as a dependent?
So the process to add a dependent, and this is, I'll speak in particular about the F1 process. So if you have not received an I-20 yet from OISS, the process is that you will submit all of the documents that were mentioned prior to Tina through Brown Admissions at wustl.edu. You will submit all of those documents, but if you would like to add your dependents, excuse me, and again, dependents are spouse or children under the age of 21. We will need a copy of their passport bio page, as well as the additional funding, $4,160 US dollars per dependent. If you provide that information up front, you will receive an I-20 for yourself, as well as an I-20 for each of your dependents who you have shared their passport bio page. If you request an I-20 and do not provide dependent information, but you request it after, you will have access to the My OISS portal where you can submit a request to add an F2 dependent. The visa process is that you will go to the Department of State's website to apply for a visa. If you have your dependent information, meaning you have their I-20, you can submit that all at one time. But if you apply for an F1 visa first, and then your dependent are joining you at a later time, they will need to apply on their own. But you will need to submit a DS-160. You only pay the SEVIS fee for yourself. Your dependents' records that are going to be attached to your SEVIS record, that SEVIS fee will cover the dependents' records. So you will need to pay the DS-160 fee. You will need to pay the SEVIS-1 fee, but just for your record. But when you apply for your dependents, if all together, then it should you should be able to include your dependent information. If they are applying separately or at a different time, they will need to pay for the DS-160 on their own. Once you've submitted your application, your embassy will work with you on scheduling an appointment. As I've mentioned, there are some countries, in particular, India, as well as Nigeria, Ghana, and Uganda, that have longer visa processing times. So you will need to likely apply for an expedited appointment, be prepared for that. So please try to apply as soon as possible, because the later that you apply, the longer the wait times will be.
Thanks, Ariel. Since Ariel touched a little bit about like the savings process, we do have a questions regarding like the best timeline or preferred timeline to transfer service records if you are a current F1 student in the US. Are there
Yes. Oh,
preferred-
sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So for those of you who already have an I-20, so you are either enrolled at a school and you are graduating, congratulations. For those of you who are working in the US using your OPT or STEM OPT benefit, your CVIS record is currently active, meaning that you are eligible to transfer your CVIS record to WashU, should we be the school that you'd like to enroll in this fall. So the process to transfer your record is that first form that I have mentioned. It's called the New International Graduate Student Status Form. That form is an online form. Filling it out, it's going to ask, are you currently in F1 status? You'll say yes. And then it's going to ask, are you an F1 student, or are you an F1 student on OPT or STEM OPT? You'll say yes to either one of those. And when you do, there will be instructions on how to transfer your CVIS record. The most important thing to note is that you will receive on the form, you will see the code, the CVIS campus code that WashU has. Your International Student Services Office, who currently holds your CVIS record, will need that code to transfer your record to WashU. So that information is readily available to you. If you know that you want to transfer your record now, you could submit that form today and provide your international advisor with that code, and you could set up the transfer date. Now, your DSO or international advisor is going to tell you, when do you want your record released to WashU? That's an important question, but it's different for every student. So for those of you who are graduating, you do need to talk to your international advisor because you have a timeline on when to transfer your record. After your graduation date, or the end date that's listed on your I-20, you have 60 days between that date and the 60-day grace period to transfer your record, or at least to schedule a transfer. If you do not transfer or schedule your transfer within 60 days, you will not be eligible to transfer your record. So it is very important for those of you who are graduating to talk to your international advisor as soon as possible to let them know your intentions. So choosing a release date, as I mentioned, it depends on each person. If you are working on OPT or STEM OPT and your EAD doesn't expire by the start of classes, you need to know that as soon as you transfer your record to WashU, you are no longer eligible to work at the company that you are working with. So it's very important that you talk to your international advisor to determine when would be the most appropriate date for you to transfer your record. Your record needs to be transferred to WashU before Brown's orientation date. And I don't know what day that is. Tina or Zizi, do either of you
This
know?
year is in August 19th and 20. Let me double check.
So I
August-
would say August 18th.
August 19 and 20.
August
It's
19th.
Monday and Tuesday.
So your record should be transferred to WashU before August 19th. Ideally, please try to give OISS some time so that we can activate your but the latest date that you should have your record transferred is August 19th. And that will allow those of you who are still working on OPT or STEM OPT to work all the way up to that date, so that the following date on August 19th, you will start your program with WashU. For those of you who are transferring and maybe considering traveling abroad, traveling to go home, and your intentions are to arrive back to WashU to start the program, ideally you will want to transfer your record before your return. So that way we can issue you an I-20 so that you have a new I-20 that has WashU's degree information, so that when you arrive at the airport, you can show them that I-20. So again, the release date really is dependent on each individual. So I highly recommend that you are talking to your international advisor at the school that currently holds your I-20. The most important date is just to remember that if you are currently working, that you need to ensure that your record is transferred before August 19th. And if you have intentions of traveling outside of the US, then maybe you want to consider having your release date set before your arrival, your planned arrival back to the US, and ensuring that we have issued you a new I-20. I hope that clarifies. But if you have questions about the transfer, just email OISS at wustl.edu and we can try to clarify. But honestly, you should work with your international advisor from your current school to determine that release date.
Thank you so much, Ariel, for the detailed explanation. I know that we are approaching the end of the section and we still have a lot of questions that we need to cover, but please don't worry about that. Like we mentioned earlier, we still have a few upcoming info sections. Let me check. Okay, we still have a lot of upcoming info section that could cover more specific topics, including the I-20 visa, savings, the transfer, and things like that. So please stay on tune, and then register for the info sections that would answer your specific questions. And also reminder for the application deadline. So currently we are still accepting the applications for the fall 2024 on a rolling basis. So if you have submit your complete application, or if you are about to submit your complete application, it will take us about 6 to 10 weeks to process your application, and then you will receive your admission and scholarship decision. The final deadline for international students is April 1st this year. We really try to keep this deadline so that student could, have enough time to prepare for the next step, including like I-20 initiated, visa processing, and etc. And last but not least, we do have our 2024 Admit Student Week coming up pretty soon in just 3 weeks. We are very, very excited to welcome our Admit students either in person on campus at the Brown School or virtually, through the Zoom. So our virtual programming is scheduled on Friday, April 12th, and the more detailed agenda will be shared on our virtual channels. And as for the in-person, we do have a full day in person, and as well as live streaming program on Saturday, April 13th. So please check your emails or check our webpage to register for the upcoming Admit Student Week. We would love to have you there to meet with you and also your cohort. Last but not least, so most of you probably already connect with us in one of these ways. So we sincerely invite you to continue to email us or connect with us through social media to submit any questions that you are concerned, or connect us personally for virtual or in-person visit. And then we also have some social media platform that are particularly for international students. So if you want to connect with current international student or staff member who are working closely with international student, you're welcome to check with our social media platform as well. Last but not least, I really want to say thank you for all of you attending our virtual webinar today. And also, I really want to say a big thank you to our panelists to share your tips and insights and also your wisdom. I know it's very appreciated, not just by me, but also by our audience. And I hope you have a great rest of your day, everyone. And we hope to see you again soon in the future. So connect with us, and we would like to help you to answer your questions and help you to connect with the people you want to talk to. And mostly we want to have you here for our fall 2024 cohort. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.